with the facts. Maybe the facts are not 100%, but we know that more women will be saved if they start having screening for breast cancer before the age of 50. Most states require coverage by insurance companies for mammograms starting at the age of 35. If there are risks involved with this, say so. We do it in every medicine that I take. We do it in every other procedure that I can think of. I mean, a doctor will say, Senator Specter, we don't recommend an MRI on this, but there may be a 15% chance that you need one. And so he knows the facts and he takes his chances. Or a doctor will say to a woman, you're 45, we don't think it's necessary for you to have this procedure, but these are the statistics. It shows an overwhelming improvement in your chances if you do. There is a 1% chance, or whatever it is, that you might have a better chance to get breast cancer from having the mammography. Why not just put the facts out there with a clear message? Here is what the statistics show, and here's what the risks are. I think what happened with the advisory committee is the worst of all worlds. And what I worry about the most is that now that we have this mixed message from the experts, that insurance companies are going to start saying now, you know, if we don't have clear scientific evidence from the experts that this needs to be done, then it's no longer in the required category. We should move it to optional with the insurance companies. These are questions that should not be raised with a mixed message. So I'm going to ask those of you who are testifying today to help us get a clear message. Tell us what the risks are. Tell us what the advantages are. And there is no question that the advantages outweigh the risks. And I cannot understand why this is treated so much more deferentially than any other disease or any other medical treatment, where they tell you what the risks are and what the rewards are. And yet now we have all of these doctors getting together on a panel and saying, well, we are just not going to make a decision. It's not acceptable. I hope that because Senator Specter has held this hearing, that you will clarify what you think we ought to do, and I hope you will work with us in a positive way to have a clear message to the women of this country that the disease that is killing more of us than any other disease does have a remedy. Maybe a few risks, but we know we can save 9,500 lives this year if we will stick to the advice that you have given us in the past and give us the facts. We can take the facts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to hearing from the experts.
Thank you very much, Senator Hutchinson. Last year, 184,000 women were diagnosed with breast cancer, and the estimate is some 44,000 women will die this year from breast cancer, one in 9. Well, we turn now to you, Dr. Klausner. Richard Klausner has been associated with the National Institute of Health since 1979, when he began his research career at the Cancer Institute. In 1995, Dr. Klausner became the 11th director of the NCI. He has an impressive list of credentials with training at Yale, Harvard, Duke. I don't know why they put Yale ahead of it, but they did, Dr. Klausner. And his research has been recognized with numerous awards and honors. Dr. Klausner, we welcome you here and look forward to your testimony.
Thank you.
We're going to put a green light on, which signifies 5 minutes, and to the extent that you can stay within that, we would appreciate it, leaving the maximum amount of questions, time for dialogue. And we do have a very extensive list of witnesses to follow our very two distinguished physicians here, Dr. Klausner and Dr. Blumenthal. Dr. Klausner, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Senator Specter. Senator Hutchison, I want to thank you for your interest in this important issue. 2 weeks ago, a conference was held at the NIH that brought together experts from around the world in all aspects of mammography, as well as an independent consensus panel in order to address the confusing and often contentious issue, the debate that surrounds the question of the age at which a woman should begin regular screening mammography. On behalf of the National Cancer Institute, I had asked for this conference in response to reports of new data, primarily from Sweden, that addressed the great gap in our knowledge concerning the potential benefit of population screening of women aged 40 to 49. And as hoped, the conference successfully stimulated the bringing together of new information and the presentation of new and updated analysis. From a scientific point of view, the value of any screening test used in a healthy population depends upon the incidence of the disease, the mortality associated with that incidence, as well as the performance characteristics, the shortcomings and risks, as you said, of the screening procedure. A woman's risk of breast cancer does not suddenly change at any particular age, but gradually and steadily rises. It is not surprising, therefore, that the value of widespread screening follows a similar pattern of increasing value at increasing age. There is and has been general agreement that there are benefits from regular screening mammography between the ages of 50 and 69. While breast cancer does occur in young women in the 20s and 30s, because of its low incidence in this age group, screening for all women in 20s or 30s has not been considered warranted. So we're left with the issue of the transition of women between the ages of 40 to 49. As a woman enters her 40s, she is moving from a time where regular population screening has not been recommended to one where it is proven to be beneficial. One of the complexities of the question is, when is the line crossed? Is it 40, 42, 44, or 50? Rather than concluding that there is only one right answer to that question, the consensus panel concluded that each woman should make an informed decision in the decade of her 40s that is the right answer for her. Despite some press accounts, I stated at the end of the conference that I agreed with the sentiment of a woman needing the information to make her own decision. But I also stated that I had concern with the balance and tone of the discussion in the panel's draft report. It is my opinion that the draft report of the panel overly minimizes the benefits of mammography and overly emphasizes the risks for that population. And I believed that a balanced and careful statement of both the pros and the cons of screening is essential for a woman to make an informed decision whether to initiate regular mammography and at what point. Do we now have evidence that would support a woman's decision if she decides to begin screening mammography in her 40s? The best data we have is from 8 randomized clinical trials involving over 180,000 women, including the 5 most updated Swedish studies. Few trials have enough instances of death from breast cancer to achieve statistical significance in answering that question. But analyzed all together by a procedure called meta-analysis, there is now a 15% statistically significant reduction in mortality for screening beginning in the 40s. The meta-analysis included the 8 randomized clinical trials that were conducted over 30 years in the United States, Sweden, Canada, and Great Britain. And I'd be happy to discuss further the interpretation of these studies in the question period. But what does this mean to an individual woman? In general, a woman in her 40s has a 1 in 66 chance of being diagnosed with breast cancer and a 1 in 190 chance of dying from breast cancer that develops in that decade. A 15% reduction would lower these odds of dying to about 1 in 220. This year, as we heard, over 30,000 women in their 40s would be diagnosed with breast cancer, and a 15% reduction in mortality would mean over 1,600 lives saved. Why would a woman choose not to have a mammogram? What are the limitations and downsides of mammography? The first relates to false positives and medical procedures involved in the follow-up of these false positives. If women were to receive yearly mammograms for 10 years, it is currently estimated that as many as 30% will have an apparent abnormality detected, and up to 1/4 of these will result in a biopsy or an invasive procedure. Only 1/4 of those for women in their 40s would prove to be cancer. In other words, most abnormal mammograms do not signify cancer.